Hello everybody, welcome back to Road to Master. Hope you're all having an amazing day. We're starting off with the white pieces against an 1865 from India. E4, E5. We'll go for a Scotch because I'm feeling boring today. And we all know I can't even say I know the Scotch well because I clearly don't. Anyway, knight takes D4 is a line. It's not an amazing line, and we have D6, and it's so weird we're seeing D6 here because I literally just had a bullet game where my opponent played D6. D6 is not the move. It's not necessarily even a good move. You're playing the Philidor without the good stuff about the Philidor, which I think personally is this knight on C6. Controlling a lot of these sort of things. You're blocking in your bishop. Your knight can still come here. Your bishop does have a decent diagonal. But yeah, there's not much else to it. So, what are we going to do? C4, bishop C4 is probably a decent move. And there is an idea here behind E5 with takes, bishop takes, F7, check, getting the king away from the queen, hopefully. King to E7 would work. E5 here is got to be the move, I think. We could potentially... I mean, it's not really winning a pawn because E5 is just fine. But it gives them an isolated pawn and it loses their ability to castle. So I think that's probably a good move. Emphasis on probably. Let's just quickly run through it. Bishop takes F7. Yeah. King E7. There's no bishop check. So you just do takes, and then king takes, and then castles maybe. You could do... You probably want to free your bishop. I don't think there's not really a risk of it being trapped, so you could probably just do like a knight C3 at that point. Let's go for it anyway and see what happens. Hopefully they take the bishop and fall for the bait, but you never know. You never know in these positions. I think the isolated pawn and the loss of castling is going to be enough compensation, I think. They sort of have to take this. They could move the knight, technically. But then bishop takes is not bad. But then you're sort of, I think, getting into the realm of giving us too much development. Too much space. I'm not quite sure. Knight D7's probably the move. There is considerations of E6 afterwards. With pawn takes, bishop takes. Nothing amazing there, to be honest. So we probably just take, and then bishop takes. We could throw in a check. Actually, throwing in the check's not horrible. Not check. That's not even a check. What am I on about? Gosh. Ignore me. Just ignore me, please. I don't know what I'm talking about. They do this. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, C5 I didn't think about. It's fine. We're not losing anything. We could throw in the check bishop there. Takes, queen takes. Nah, we could do something else. Queen D1, still an option with the same tactic. And then we actually have a target on E5 after takes. Queen E1, knight there. There is then the idea of queen H5 potentially. I don't think any of this works. I think bishop blocks is just fine. So we'll go probably queen D1. Is knight there anything? I don't think so. We'd probably just take and castle. Or maybe just even castle. Yeah, probably just castle. Yeah. Ooh. It's not a move I want to play, really. Queen D3 could be a thing. Just trying to keep sort of active, I guess, but I don't think there's much difference, to be honest. Alternatively, we could go Queen A4. Doesn't really do anything. Let's go back to D1. Our tactic still stands, so I'm not too upset about that. Check, we have Bishop D2. Again, fine. Fine with that. Or we could just go Knight C3 even. Bishop D2 is a bit more forcing. They go for that, which is annoying. We could just do Queen takes D6 here, is an option. And then takes castles. Queen takes, pawn takes, bishop takes castles. And we're just playing chess, I think. We have slightly more development, and we just claim that, I think. Yes. I think that's the best way to do it, to be honest. Think that's the best way to do it. And we can pre-move that. There's no tricks we want to throw in the mix, I don't think. So yeah, we have not the same weaknesses we hoped, but this C5 could be construed as a weakness. I think construed is a word. But yeah, you can see how this could potentially be a target. You're potentially limiting your bishop squares as well. We could look to trade off the light squared bishop with a check first. It's not a horrible idea, but I think castling, to be honest, is just the better call. They sort of have to castle. We can get bishop e2 in, and now we're just playing chess. It's nothing crazy, nothing amazingly fancy. We have rook d1, hitting the bishop, potentially trying to win a pawn. Somehow, bishop goes back to e7. That doesn't seem right. Blocking off more dark squares. You're shoring up your c5 square. I would like to hit this d5 square. This knight's a bit annoying. I think rook d1 comes in first. No, we can go knight c3 first and then go rook d1 to hit the bishop, and same thing. Except we still have the e1 square for this rook. I think is the better way to play it. So we'll put in a rook d1 and then go knight d5. Hopefully looking for takes with check and double up the pawns. And it's a battle of two bishop pairs. It's a battle of two bishop pairs. They have committed with the pawns quite heavily on the queen side, which is good, I think, for us. I think a lot of people try to get a quick pawn structure that they know is solid, and that's not necessarily a bad thing at all. Sometimes that's the right thing to do. But sometimes it can leave you with targets. And I mean that in the most vague of terms, because it's such a subjective thing, is compensation. Oh, we've got to be very careful about this, because if everything trades off, they have bishop takes h2 is a huge threat. So we'll go rook d2, try to double up our rooks first, I think is the way to do it. They don't have anything immediately they can try. Knight there potentially could be annoying, but then we probably just play g3, get the isolate pawn. Yeah, they go for that. Okay, well we'll claim the open file. I'm happy with double pawns if we get to keep the bishop pair. I think that's a thing worth doing. They have to deal with this threat because it's a potential mating threat even. I would like still a knight d5. I would like to play even an f3 to limit the squares of both the knight and the bishop would be nice. I think bishop takes would be a mistake. A pretty significant. I don't know why they didn't go. They look to trade off, and we'll take with the rook because why not? Keep the open file. They go for the trade, which I personally don't think is that good. But then again, there's always room for me to be proved wrong. We've seen that time and time again. I think, yeah, that's probably good because I was potentially looking to take this and infiltrate with the rook. That makes it a bit harder. Not impossible, though. Not impossible one bit. We just need to be a bit more creative, potentially. I think an f3 here would benefit us. And look to sort of come in this way, potentially. Would be nice. Rook d3. I think we go king f2. Just controlling, we've got all of this d file, and now we're controlling these 3 e squares as well. So we're just sort of limiting their activity of the rook, trying to claim as much sort of space as possible. We have bishop b5 ideas. Doesn't really do much for us. Doesn't really do much for us indeed. I think a bishop f4 is the way to play it. Although it's not really doing much, but we could potentially loop around and hit all of these 3 pawns here. Would be nice to have, I think, because they're going to struggle to do anything to stop us. I guess a6 would actually stop it quite nicely, because you're threatening b5 with a tempo as well. Yeah, that would stop it. That would stop it dead in its tracks, to be honest. They are using a lot of time here, so I think we're catching up a bit on the time front, which I'm a big fan of because I don't like being low on time. a4, a5 could be a shout. Looking to sort of further weaken this structure. Remember what I said about targets, trying to... You see the target, you actually have to move on it. You can't just sit there and claim it is a target eventually. I don't like bishop c6. I thought the bishop was actually quite well placed here, supporting the a6 push. That you're looking for b5, but b5 isn't really scary to me, to be honest. I think a rook d6 here could work. Could work. Where are you going, though, with the rook? Where are you actually going? I don't know. We'll move the rook anyway. I think it's a nice square for it. You're potentially blocking in your dark squared bishop, you could claim. But, yeah, you've got ideas. They go bishop there. Okay. Yeah. I see that. We could undouble our pawns and play the dark squared bishop versus the knight. Is an option. That's a tough one to claim you're winning, though. It's a tough one to claim you're winning. It could be the play, though. It could be the play. We could take inwards and look for a B push. No, I think we have to do this. Realistically, we have to do this. We could go C6 and work around this way. We are letting the king in and losing control of this D square as well, which would potentially cause some problems. We could be in for a draw here, which isn't ideal because we're losing a point because our opponent's rated a bit lower than us, which we don't like. So we gotta try and make some tactics up here. Make up some time, make up some tactics. And put our opponent under a bit of pressure, I think, is the way to play it. I think we've got to take with the B. It would be cool idea to take with the A and make pushes that way. But every time you do that, you're sort of making counter threats. And I think their A push is a bit easier for us, for them to play than our C push. So yeah, I'm not even sure if I want to push B because it's giving them more open files. Which I don't like the idea of, to be honest. I don't like the idea of one bit. They look for the trade. I think that benefits us, right? Hugely. Hugely benefits us. We'll play a C4 because it's limiting their light squares. Our bishop's doing quite a good job at covering the dark squares. So I think fixing on the light squares and letting the bishop sort of naturally control the knight is a good way to play it. We're going to get these pawns. They can't really stop this, I don't think. Knight there's a good shout, but yeah, I don't think it's particularly happening. Go there. We can try to get the king in. We've got to be a bit careful about our bishop getting trapped. King activity, I think, is important. King there, we could have to think about... They go for that. Okay, I think we're happy here. The thing is, they can't infiltrate and hit our bishop without either moving the knight or losing control of this e-pawn, which I'm happy with. We'll go for h3. Knight check. We just move back. Yeah, we're still controlling the light squares quite well. So we'll just move back. And they would have to move back in order to protect the b-pawn. Although they could push it potentially. Would be interesting. And this is completely sort of relying on our endgames here. Really relying on our endgames. I think a4 is a shout. Just to stop this b push. I think that's a shout. They're going to check here, I believe. And knights are always tricky like that, you know. Knights are always tricky like that. They go for that. I think we push G. And we're trying to sort of rob them of tempos, I think. Is the way to play it. Try rob them of tempos. The king can't infiltrate, which is good. I'd like to get a g5 in, potentially. Just to stop this check. Would be really, really nice. A push from them I don't think is good. Although, now with their passed pawn, we have to be very, very careful that we're not... think about where we're going here. I don't think it particularly matters. Yeah, we'll go e5 so they're not getting the push with check. e3, sorry. We don't want to be trading off the knights and bishops because we would lose that endgame. Yeah, we'll play h4 and look for a h5. Try get the king in this way. And then claim all of these pawns, hopefully. All they can really do is shuffle, I think. Which is good for us, yeah. See, now they've lost this check. Which is not good for them. Yeah, I think we push g5. We've still got ideas of h5. And where are they going? They're going to lose this pawn. Or this pawn. One of them. And I think we just have to be quick enough here, to be honest. Just have to be quick enough. Decide what the plan is. They're probably going to leave the e-pawn. Yeah. Let's take B, because we take C as well there. We can just go straight back as well. Same thing. We'll get both of them. Not pre-move anything. There we go. So we're in now. Get that. Sit there. Take that. Oh, we should be good here. This is another good thing for pre-moves. If you place it, if you're worried about a pass pawn, place a queen right below it. They can't do anything about it. You know, the king can never get into a spot where... oh, we've got good stuff here. Yeah, we've got very good stuff here. Go there, yeah. Go there, and we might have to do a ladder mate, unfortunately. I don't like doing ladder mates, but they are very simple to do. That is the whole point of them. Just make sure we're not stalemating. We should not be. There we go. Yeah, I don't like doing ladder mates. They always feel dirty, but sometimes, you know, when you've got 2 queens on the board, it is the most simple thing. Yeah, when you're worried about a pass pawn and you've got time to get another queen, even not, you've got time. You have to bring your king across in order to get it. Just stick it in front of the pawn. The king can never actually infiltrate and get the queen, and you blockade the pawn. It's simple, and then you can just pre-move everything else. Let's have a look at this game, because I think it was quite good. I think the endgame was quite cool. Technical, I think. Definitely some things we missed. 85.4% versus an 80.1. Not bad at all. There are a few ups and downs, but never really in our opponent's territory other than sort of early middle game stage, which is surprising, I think. 2200 versus 1750. Let's have a look. So we had the Scotch, a very strange sort of variation of it. I don't think I've seen this before. Usually the move is Queen F6, followed by E5, Queen B6 is the way most people play it. Takes. I like to go Knight C3. Bishop B4 I think is a good move. Bishop D2. Actually, no. Yeah, Bishop B4. And I think, yeah, any sort of bishop move, you're sort of falling victim to ideas of this fork, and you've got to play like a King D8, which is quite tricky. Anyway, I think I covered that in my Scotch video. We sort of went for this idea early on. I don't know if it worked. The computer doesn't like it. Sort of giving away a lot of your spatial advantage. And I guess you're freeing up this dark square bishop at the end of it as well. C5, very interesting move, I thought. Queen E7 is actually, yeah, that's the way to do it, with the pin on the king. Pretty simple way of stopping that. And that's the same with sort of Philidor positions as well. Is it Philidor? Is the Elephant Gambit, you do something very similar. And the Elephant Gambit is something black plays against white. You go there, and they go here. Takes, and you go Queen E2 with the pin, so they can't take. And then you've got like knight there, some other annoying moves, whatever. That's a blunder, whatever. Tricky stuff. So yeah, look for pins always. Why does this not work? The answer is actually Queen D3 rather than Queen D1. With the pin again, and I guess you probably just take the D pawn. Castles. Oh, because they can't take. They can take with the pawn though. Strange. Oh, when you take with the pawn, have you got checks? Rook E1. Just looking to get that back eventually, you claim, I guess. I'm not really sure. Queen E7, we took, traded off, blah, blah, blah. Castles, and you're just playing chess. Bishop E4, trying to just hit this pawn. B6 I didn't think was particularly accurate. Yeah, this knight G4 idea was hanging around for a while. I should have done something a bit more to stop it, I think. It likes F3, does the computer. Rook D1, yeah. Rook D2, again, this knight G4 idea is something I missed quite a lot. They traded off. I didn't like trading off at all. You know, in this position, the bishop pair is absolutely everything. And to just give it up like that, for not even that bad of a pawn structure, like you're still controlling all of these pawns because you've committed so early with these pawns. Even the double isolated pawns, they'll hold it quite well. I think, and you're actually just giving more ways for your bishops to move around, so I think that actually benefits me. F3's been coming for a while. Yeah, King F2, Rook D6 is the best move. Great move actually. I don't know why that's a great and not best, but yeah, sure. Bishop B4, very interesting. I thought you just go back to B7 to be honest, but then you just sort of wasted a move. What's the idea that's so bad behind that? Why does it not like that so much? Oh, you take the pawn. Ah, I didn't even consider that. Yeah. Wow, trading off the bishop pair for a pawn. Very, very bold. I guess at least you've got 2 light squared bishops, which is a bit more playable. You've got the same idea, which we completely missed here. Blah, blah, blah. It wants rook c8. Very interesting. Just to secure this, you don't have to move it at all, really. Yeah, and then you just sort of left asking how you're actually going to infiltrate this, because your rook's blocking, your bishop coming in. The rook's still on the back rank, so you can't actually get to b8. You've not got many pawn pushes. I guess you still have this idea. Whether that works or not is a mystery to me. Apparently that's a blunder now. Why is that a blunder? Why does that lose? b5? b5 counter pushes. Oh, and then they've got knight f7. What? So why does knight f7 not work in the other lines? Oh, because the rook's there. Duh. So the rook move frees up knight e8. Sorry. I don't know why I said f7. That makes a lot of sense. Wow. Yeah. So let's see rook c8. The better move is bishop a6. And that's just kicking around. You go c8, 7, I guess. And you're risking some potential back ranks, but also not really, you know. Not really. Bishop b3, yeah, trade off. This is very drawish, to be honest. This was a mistake that gave us the slightest advantage. And this is why I think, personally, it's so important to know your endgames back to front. Because it's so easy to get in a drawish position like this, and you need to know the reasons why you play certain endgames in certain ways, and what pieces like in endgames, and how to play with different pieces of endgames, because you get a position like this where it's practically dead even. In fact, white's saying 0.7. And the important thing, and the thing that's going to boost your rating so much more, is being able to play endgames that are drawn and create chances. That's something I think I do quite well. Not to brag or anything, but I think I've got a good handle of that for a 1700 anyway. And being able to create chances. You see there, we jumped on this opportunity. I didn't even have to think about this that much. Like, trade off the rooks, yes. They've got this dark squared pawn chain. I've got a dark squared bishop, yes. They've got an isolated pawn. I know I can make use of this. Yes. The knight is potentially good at infiltrating in these sorts of situations. But if we make it so that they are stuck and can't move the knight, we're going to have a much nicer game. So we're able to, without calculating that much and thinking about this, just jump on this completely. You know, and rook d7, knight d7 earlier. Sort of looking to stop e5. I think if they got e5 any earlier, you know, they would have had a nicer, more drawish endgame, even potentially giving up the pawn just to free up your knight a bit more. I think would have been a potential way to play it, to be honest. e5, not a good move. There's no need to play e5 at all in this situation. I can't get in here. I literally can't do anything. It would be all up to me making pawn pushes. And that's something that could potentially even benefit you as black. If I'm sort of forced to push my pawns and not actually use my piece to win the pawns, you know. They definitely should have thrown in this check way earlier, I think. I like a4 as a move. And you see here, like, me wasting time. It shows how sort of fragile this endgame is. Like, one move there, gone from 1.3 to 0.4. And then right back again, 1.5. We find a4. And then 2.6. Like, these tiny, like, inconspicuous moves are the reason why I won this, you know. And you would never be able to calculate this all to the end. You've got to have a deeper understanding of what the position actually wants. Not that I, like, know that or anything, but you learn small things and you can implement small things, and I think that's what improving is. You can't learn everything all at once, but through experience and through learning your end games, you're actually gonna be able to start implementing small things until you eventually get the bigger picture. We took it, yeah. I don't think taking was the right move for them, because we are able to play like a G5 eventually, which I thought was really nice. I mean, it just paralyzed their knight completely. Apparently King E3 is not right, and you actually give them the check. Wow. And you just commit all the way on this side. That's insane. That's actually insane. Knight H7? The computer's on some wacky stuff, I personally don't see why King E3 is that bad, to be honest. King E3, B5. Okay. So your bishop's sort of getting trapped, potentially? You could reroute it. I'd still favour this for white. In fact, it's saying 1.9, so I'm not sure what the computer's on about, to be honest. Not sure what the computer's on about. Yeah, King E3 is still winning. I was confused by that. It took a minute to process, I think. And then Knight D7. Apparently you needed to find B5 for any sort of play. Knight D7 completely paralyzes you because I'm able to move my king up. Eventually, and then King F6, just a nail in the coffin. You're blocking your only source of counterplay with this check, and I'm able to play G5, and it might not be the most ideal situation, but what is Black actually doing in this position? Like, you go there, you can't go anywhere. You go there, you can't go anywhere. You go there, you could potentially weasel in, but at that point I've taken both of these, maybe even this one as well, and I'm well on my way to promoting a queen. I win 2 pawns, and then I'm in a very, very nice king and pawn endgame. They can't get in here at all. I can even go to D5 like we saw, and they still can't get in at all. I can still go to C5, and yes, they could get in this way like we saw. But then, I'm controlling the key squares. I'm promoting a queen. And it's as easy as that. We get the queen on G1, promote the second queen, and it's a matter of a few moves. It was definitely inefficient, but I was not risking another blunder like we did yesterday. Anyway. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Please like if you liked. Please subscribe if you really liked. And I'll catch you guys all tomorrow for Puzzle Rush Sunday. Anyway, bye-bye. Thank you.